The Protestant Reformation that took place at the end of the 1400s and the 1500s did not just happen. It was a slow erosion of what was happening. Over those wonderful years of our inciting of our faith, universities beginning in the 11, 12, 1300s, a lot of flourishing of humongous churches, exemplifying God's presence in the midst of so many communities. But over the years, all those sign values, those wonderful places, kept on, in many ways, being enhanced on the inside. And yet, what was happening on the outside was not being revealed. A disconnect between kind of a sign and how faith was being lived. And it came at that climax at that time, often for us symbolized in Martin Luther, who really questioned our motivations of what our faith was about and how was it truly being lived in the oneness of the gospel. That image and challenge is faith or works. Which one is more important? And what we hold today is a both and. Without a true faith, all of our works are just for show. But at the same time, to say we have faith and it doesn't make a difference in our lives and what we do outward sign is a clear sign that we stand embarrassingly with that group of category that Jesus calls the Pharisees. The looks are there, they show up in the sense of the right places, but their faith isn't transformed into their ways of life. And that is a challenge for us at this time of harvest that we are upon in our land, to bear fruit. St. Jude in many ways is admirable by other communities when they say the symbol of when volunteering at St. Vincent de Paul or Anna's house, the beggars of the poor and so forth. There's a real nucleus of people of common denominator of how generous the St. Jude people is. But the face of those St. Jude people in many ways are people who are 70 and plus by and large. It's an older grain generation, and we need to plug that down to a younger sense, recreating, rebuilding that sense of service for others. Yesterday was the feast of St. Vincent de Paul, and next week, as announced on Sunday afternoon for an hour, a visible presence that we are people of the sacredness of life, when so many people, as we know around our world this time, their lives professing their Christianity is being persecuted and stood as valueless, standing on a sidewalk, solidarity, maybe praying a rosary, being an outward sign that we stand up and hold up life for whoever may drive by. Such a simple act. And yet, last year when we did that, there was probably not more than 30 of us. Something any and every one of us can do. In our first reading, what we do, our outward sign, makes a difference. And today's gospel, Jesus clearly accents this in a person and two children. One said, "Oh, sure, I'll do it." Never did it. The other one, "I'm not going to do it," but then rethought and did it. Who did the Father's will? We know the answer to that also. And my challenge is for each one of us this week is to do some outward sign, some clear sign of charity, oneness, reaching out to another that's not common for you. Something that just kind of forces the envelope of your life to put your toe just a little bit farther into whatever that stream of baptism that we're presently comfortable in. How do we take it just a little farther? In the name of Christ, that's what we're called to do. That's how ultimately we will transform the world when they see what we're doing and how we're doing those things. Same visit of Paul, the beggars for the poor, the food pantries that we have. When we're engaging with a person and seeing a person, we are the avenue for people to know that God cares. And in many times, the person on the other side may be the true face of Christ who's showing up that day to be assisted. Let us not miss the opportunities to profess our faith by the living example of our lives.